Alright guys, so I was asked, is Serestia good or bad? Well, I myself decided to DM purchase her, so I can say I wanted her for my comp, so she is good. But the thing is, how do you use her? There's a lot of different ways, and this is why some people think she's bad, some people think she's good, and really you're gonna need to play with stone bills of the way things are gonna be set up, and actually even with her level. So first, let's look down at the positioning. She can be put front line, mid line, back line. Center mid's her best position. I'm gonna say back line's also pretty damn good. And you don't care about the bonus position back line the way we're gonna be using her. Front line, I've seen some comps run it. It's actually pretty decent, especially with current comps. So nothing wrong with that either. So let's look at the skills. Again, these have been revamped, so just be sure that you're checking the most recent posts on those. I think it was like 5, 6 patch, and they got nerfed, then they got changed. There was a lot of changes. I gotta say, I'm not a big fan of them nerfing her right after changing her skills, but that's a discussion for another time. So her active. Paralyze the enemy team and decrease the reflect by 30% for 3 minutes. Right there. That is just a magical skill. Especially if you're combining this with a gibberel like this, you can spam it. That is a great strat in COT. Just for that one skill right there, you have a magical exploit. So I'm just saying that is beautiful. So what does it basically mean? The enemy team will have 0 action speed and you will have a reflex advantage. You don't even need more than 1 point invested in this skill for it to work, because the points you don't invest in this, you're going to be able to invest in March of Death. So unless you're doing it in auto, you don't even need to invest in the active, who's also pretty damn cool. Then we have Dark Rose Garden. When becoming unable to move, deals 10% of the enemy's side as damage, decrease action bar by 50%, and spared by 50%. So basically what it means is, well, the damage isn't that great anymore, but 10%, especially for certain COT, I think 5-3, 5-7, you can, like, especially the ones that say one shot and you gotta wait 30 to 40 minutes, this is just magical. Because if you keep healing her and you keep making her suicide over and over and over, I'm going to be talking about a specific build to max out on the skill after, but this can be extremely powerful because you can arrive facing the enemy goalkeeper and he's on 10% life. Plus, she's going to be burning the spirit, so he won't have any active block. Right before going up, you can use the active, so they're not moving, they're not able to block. Even if you have utility front, you can shoot, steal, shoot, steal, shoot 3 times. That's what I'm able to do with my Vonchi. So, okay, maybe you don't have a Vonchi 2 times, but still pretty damn good. It's 3 minutes. You should be able to do it. Especially if you got some sort of action bar gen when you go to frontline, everyone's at 100%. Now, Dark Eden, decrease the critical resistance by 15% and critical rate by 15% of enemy team for 5 minutes of an action. So this skill is kind of underrated, but knowing how much critical resistance you can find in PvP and sometimes in PvE, this can actually bring a lot of value. The reason being, 1, lowering critical resistance by 30% just means that instead of wasting an entire stone slot for this, you have Serestia. Okay, she needs to move 2 times. If you build her correctly, she will move, she will stack. If you want, you can even really max her out in that sense by giving her an Evolve Addiction to add some more critical penetration. Like this, you don't have to put any stones in that. It is an option. But also the thing that people are underestimating is critical rate. For PvP, it means nothing. I mean, you're not going to matter unless you're mono dark and you're also running Alice and you're using some critical thing in backline. But unless you're doing that, it's pretty good in PvE actually, because they don't have that high of a critical rate most of the time. And lowering it 30% plus the goalkeeper's innate critical resistance, a lot of them, even if you don't use it, have some, you're lowering their chance to crit quite a lot, who's pretty good once again. On top of it, the best part is critical resistance affects the goalkeeper, so he can never get rid of it. Now, March of Death, who I want to say is the bacon, as we say, decrease the max life by 20% and reflex by 20% of enemy team. So for PvP, the max life is actually very powerful because it's a debuff who's going to affect the entire enemy team. And as you've seen, 20% life from an ace is good, so reversing that. It's like a reverse ace on the enemy team. Not to forget, 20% reflex is extremely powerful in PvP, and in PvE, it also has some great value, even if you're not using her, because it's just going to make penetrating much easier and you don't have to waste so much time on getting reflex totems. So all around, it's a pretty good skill in PvP and PvE. The only thing you need to note is in PvE, the life thing isn't calculated the same and it's honestly useless. I'm just saying the truth here. So don't await the life part of the skill to be useful. Chain's friendship with, I can't even remember the names to tell you how useful it is. Oros, rival with Alice, that's valuable. Affection with Lucifer, it's dead. I don't know why. Nemesis with Metatron, that right there, that's a beautiful skill. Chain. So rival and nemesis, those are the ones you're going to be caring about because those are the ones you have a good chance to see. Nemesis, I mean, if you own meta, you can set it up. I know, of course, people who own Serestia don't always own meta. I personally do, but if you don't, it's fine. At least try get the Alice. That could be cool. So yeah, she also got currently an event skin who I honestly don't like. I know the Choi fans are really happy because it's his dog, but I'm not a fan. Sorry, boy. So let's start talking about the build and the positioning because the build is going to change a lot based on the positioning. So some parts I'm completely sure about, and some parts it's really going to be up to your line, to what you're running. So always take it with a grain of salt. Now the one that everyone's agreed on, with no question, is what we call the backline Serestia suicide build. As I was saying, the idea is basically going to be you put her next to the facing the striker or next to the striker, and you keep getting her penetrating suicidally. The idea is to not put her level high enough that she can actually penetrate, but she just keeps dying. The build for that is pretty simple. You're going to throw Essence of Greed, because it's going to give you Spirit, Action Bar, and we don't care about anything else. You're going to put an Ardor Speedstone. It's just you want the speed because you're not maxing out her level. And then you're going to put 2 Thunder Penetration Stones because with an attack, they're going to give you 16% Action Bar combined. So when you're combining this, you're going to be getting, what's that, around 42%-ish Action Bar right there. Plus you got some Speed Stones on. If you throw in a Kevin, it can go really high. The idea is basically that she attacks, dies, they shoot or you do a movement. A Black Ivy is good for this. Lin May is good. Metatron is good. Anything that is going to be able to revive her at a good speed. Like this, she can go suicide over and over and over. The ideal amount of suicide you want to try again before going frontline to be sure there's no issue. This can be used in COD. Since the changes, I would ideally say around 22. Then you go midline. By then, they're pretty damn weak. You can forward pass or penetrate to Balteon, but if you don't have Balteon, whatever the hell you're using in frontline, have a Yuri for the bonuses, pass to the striker, and just destroy them. So that's kind of the main idea of how you would be using her like this. But if you don't want to go with the Super Doomsday Serestia build, you could actually try a runner in center mid. If you're doing that, we're going to be changing it a little bit. In the sense that we're going to change every single stone. I know it sounds kind of ironic. So the good thing is she lowers critical rate, so we're going to be banking on that. So we're going to do 2 Ardor Reflex Stones. For the unique, now this is a little bit more questionable on what you want to run. Depending on how you feel, you have the option of running either Calm Icicle, or you can decide to just go old school and run Battalion. So depending on whatever one of the two you run, if you're running Calm Icicle, you put the Dark Life. If you're running Battalion, you're going to put the Thunder. I don't remember what kind of verse stone they had again. I think it was a Dark DR that they had that had a little bonus. Yeah, Spirit when you're attacked. So Dark DR like this, she's even Spirit generating while surviving. So both are pretty good. And in backline, it's you're actually not going to run the Battalion for obvious reasons. You're not really going to be holding the ball. And if they're stealing from you, there's already a problem. You're mostly going to be running Calm Icicle. Some people run IC. Some people run EOG. It's really up to you. The 2 Ardor critical damage can pretty much just stay in their slot. And that's kind of the idea of how you're going to be running it. So I hope this kind of gives people an idea how Serestia is valued. I know not a lot of people use her, but that's just because she used to be trash, and everyone's already got Metatron, so no one's going to spend Dimension Stones to get a new center mid in PvP, especially one that does not revive the team. As much as it damages the enemy team and is pretty damn cool, it just doesn't feel as impactful to the game, because 10% action bar and 15% heal, well, 7.5 in PvP, is still more powerful than Serestia. So that's why Metatron is going to be more useful, but in certain comps, especially in Mono Dark, you can just run them both. There's nothing wrong with that. Serestia doesn't need to be center mid to have value. Who's what makes her great? So I hope this helps you guys understand the basics. Any more comment, questions, and everything, just put them in the description. Have a good day, guys.